Yeah, welcome Chris to the No Excuses, No Bullshit podcast. How's it going?
Hey, thanks so much. It's going well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, nice to have you here. Yeah, I would dive straight into a little introduction about you. That would be nice for the listeners. And yeah, the stage is yours.
Yeah, well, thank you. No, yeah, we connected because of my YouTube channel, which was kind of an accident the way it happened. About 3.5 years ago or so, I started learning web development mostly just because I needed it for a side project, and then I fell in love with it and started posting videos just because I like to teach through stuff and it helps me understand what I'm learning as well. And so that's how we connected, and that's probably how anybody who listens to this who might know who I am would be familiar with me at all. But I do a few different roles. I help out at my church. I work at a software company explaining their software to kind of regular everyday users. Part of that teaching background, I think.
Yeah.
I work for another company doing contract work, and then I do occasional side clients as well. And I don't know, a few other small things that dip in here and out there throughout the year. But yeah, so I'm not full time with YouTube. It's just literally what I do in the early mornings and late evenings, and I enjoy teaching through that. And that's how we connected. And like I said, that's it's been a cool journey the last 3.5 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what I've heard of was that it's 100% home office at the time, so that would be a thing we could dive into because it takes some discipline to do all that stuff if you're working from
Yeah.
100%. So, yeah, what are your daily habits? Like how do you stay
Hmm.
disciplined to do all that stuff? Because it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it does look, it seems like a lot when I mention it all like that, all in one go. But, I think the first thing is it was probably 7.5 years ago, 7.5 years ago or so when I first started working from home full time. And it took probably 2 or 3 years to feel like I really got into a pattern because you're always living with your work. And so that means either you tend to work way too much or you tend to work way too little because you're around everything else you
Yeah.
got going on as well. So I think the secrets for me have been building in some regular patterns and then having a really patient wife. And so if you can find those two things, I think that's helpful. But I'm happy to chat about some of those patterns if that would be a help.
Yeah, of course. Let's go for that, and that would be nice.
Yeah, so a few years ago I realized that if I was really going to be productive, especially because I've got young kids at home, I would need to get up early. And so I'm not, I guess, classically an early morning person, but the nice thing is if you wake up one day early, don't try to go to bed early. That doesn't work. Wake up one day early, and then basically at that point you're so tired at night you go to bed, and then you're in the cycle, so you're good. So
Yeah,
I
and
get up fairly early.
I think that's the magic trick because a lot of
That's
people,
it.
yeah, a lot of people think that they should go early to bed by force, I would say, but
Yeah.
that's not working. That's also
Then
less
you're just
nice
trying
in
to go to
turn.
sleep at like 11, 12, 1,
Yeah,
and you can't do anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So waking up early has been a big help. And then just I have a few patterns that have helped with staying productive. Some of it is like you get discouraged when you have a long list and you don't finish it. You get encouraged when you finish your stuff each day. And so maybe this is a little gamesmanship for myself, but I typically try to plan about 60% of my days. And then I have a list of extra stuff. And so the goal is to always finish my day early and always finish my week early. So that my plan is by the time I hit Friday, I've already done everything I want to for the entire week. And then I have a long list of stuff that I can do if I want to, and I always feel energized enough that I'm like, let me tackle some of these things. So some of it is just kind of gaming my brain a little bit. So I wake up
Okay,
early each day.
that's
Yeah,
interesting. That's an interesting point because a lot of people tend to plan 100% of the time, and I'm also a guy doing this. And sometimes, of course, I struggle to do all the stuff, and then I'm discouraged a little. So this is a good strategy. This is a good strategy,
yeah,
but what are those tasks like those
yeah.
extra tasks? Are those tasks high priority tasks or stuff you can do whenever you like? It's just some bonus work.
Yeah, a lot of them are high priority. They're just not high priority for this week, so they're not
Ah,
urgent.
okay.
So I try to do, I try to work ahead so that I'm never really pushed up against a wall with stuff I have to do that week. It doesn't always work that way. There's obviously life happens, and sometimes you just have to get stuff
Yeah.
done. But Um, So yeah, I usually plan out the stuff that I have to do that week in those. Usually what I try to plan first 5 to 6 hours of my day is what I plan for. And so I get those all planned on and they're going to happen kind of thing. The extra list stuff can be anything from hobbies, like I put those as part of my like daily tasks, stuff I want to do, to future work that I need to get done the next week. To there's a lot of lists there of a different kind of stuff. So it can be professional, it can be personal, it can be something that's urgent, it could be just something for fun. But usually the next thing I pick off, I kind of have a little rubric I go through in my head. So once I finish the things I need to do, the first question I ask is, what time do I have? And I think a lot of times people just pick off the next task they want to do, but it might be an hour-long task and they only have 15 minutes. Well, I don't want to get 15 minutes into a task and have to stop. So
Mhm.
like nothing gets through the gate until it can fit the time I have allotted left for the day. And then the next thing would be energy. Some tasks require a ton of energy. They're just a lot of either busy work or whatever. And then the other question is mental focus.
Yeah.
Some tasks require a lot of mental focus. They may not be that long, they may not be, that difficult, but they just take a lot of mental concentration. So I kind of ask myself those questions. What time do I have? What kind of energy do I have? What kind of mental focus do I have? And that narrows my list pretty easily. So, if I have a list of 15 things that I could do extra this week, I might be down to two or three. And then at that point, I just do what I want out of those.
Mm.
So that's kind of how I generally go mostly day by day. What I do is like Monday, I finish Monday stuff, and then I jump on Tuesday because I like going to bed Monday saying I'm already, working on Tuesday, and then Tuesday to Thursday, all the way till I get to Friday,
That's a
to where
great feeling,
hopefully by the
right?
time I get to Friday, yeah, I've got nothing but free stuff.
Yeah.
And if I don't feel like doing something for the next day, then that's when I pick off my list based on
Mm.
those three questions.
That's a nice strategy. I think a lot of listeners will think about that strategy now. So no, that's a good strategy. So I might always adapt mine a little bit. So thanks a lot
Yeah.
for the input. Yeah, and
Hey, you're welcome.
okay, so I think there are still times where you feel a little stressed, where the chaos
Yeah.
just gets too big. I know we are all structured, but those times happens too, especially when life happens. So
Right.
what are the go-to habits to calm you down, to get some
Yeah.
balance back? Is it sports? Is it whatever it might be? Any
Yeah.
habits?
Well, I do think it's important to have lots of different hobbies, and maybe I have too many, but I think for me, a variety of hobbies that are different than what I do for work is really helpful. So I love to run, love to do sports, workout. I love arts and crafts and textile stuff. I roast coffee. Like, I have lots of little tiny things that usually don't take but a few minutes. So it's
Mhm.
nice to be able to say, like, I just need a breather and I'm just going to go do something for 20 minutes. That's fun. So it's nice to have that kind of stuff. I think for me, when I get in those kind of stress modes, it's important to maybe not in the moment, but especially afterwards to almost do like a post-mortem, like how did I get there? And for me, it's almost always that I'm not trusting my system or that my system isn't trustworthy. So I use a few different task managers, but the one I use a lot, most frequently, is called OmniFocus, and
Mhm.
it's just for Mac or Apple products. But it has a feature in there called the review mode, and that's really what saves my bacon. So the review mode allows you to set projects to be reviewed on a certain cadence.
Mhm.
And what that allows me to do is to never store any information in my brain. I never have to be like, oh, wasn't there something I needed to do? Because I know every 2 weeks or whatever I set the project to return to, it will show up and I'll be able to at least mentally look at it and say, is there anything I need to do here? So usually when I get stressed, it's because I've stopped trusting that system or because the system is no longer trustworthy
Yes.
because I stopped inputting correctly. And so the review mode is a really nice way for me to like go through every single thing in my database in a few minutes with an iPad or something like that and just quickly check stuff off. Okay, I don't have anything to do there, nothing there, nothing there. And a lot of times I figure out like it's actually mentally stress where I don't actually have
Yes.
the reason to be stressed. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, that makes sense why I'm stressed. I have 15 things that I should
Yeah.
have done. So um, hobbies is kind of the first answer that gives you maybe immediate relief. And then for me, having some kind of review system that allows me to look at every single thing in a few moments
Mhm.
helps me take an accurate sense of really, should I be stressed out or should I not be stressed out? What do I need to do? What do I not need to do? So at that moment, you're just trying to get through the rest of the week and, kind of regroup on the weekend. But that helps me do that.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something very important to look on, and I think it's the mental load. Like,
Mm.
especially if you are not trusting the system, and if it's, you know, especially if you're a creative person, there are so many ideas popping up, like every, I don't know, like every minute, every hour, there are ideas, and there is stuff you know you need to do. So it's very important to have something on your side to really drop it as soon as
Mm.
possible. Like, write it down and forget it. That's what I always say.
Right.
And then having a system to, like, some tool to review it, like you said.
Mm.
I don't know the tool, but I might try it out because I'm also
Yeah.
a Mac user. So I need to check this out. No, but
Yes.
I think it's, you need something to rely on, to fall back on.
Hmm.
So you know at any time how much is to do, how much do I have to do today, and is it okay to shift something for to tomorrow? Like,
Right.
that's what it is. Yeah. No,
There's
but
certainly days I've run into where I'm like, today I'm just like not mentally there. I'm super tired.
yeah.
I know I'm not going to get this stuff done. I can either beat myself up all day and still get nothing done, or I can just take a rest day and just say, like, that's what today's going to be. So there's certainly days like that where I found that that's actually the most productive thing to do is to say, I'm going to work for 3 hours or 4 hours and do everything I have to do today. Especially if I got ahead a day or two throughout the week, it's easy to do, you know? And then
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
say, I'm going to take the rest of the day and just try to relax, honestly, like take a long nap, that kind of stuff, and then hit it tomorrow. And that almost always ends up being the right answer, unless it's something where I'm just like, I've got to stay up late to finish this thing, in which case you got to kind of deal with it. But I try to make those very infrequent. And I found that listening to my mind and listening to my body and knowing when to stop and rest is actually way more productive in the long run. And then I'm not beating myself up all day for not doing something I didn't have the capacity to do anyhow.
Yeah.
So that is another, honestly, probably one of the biggest helps that I've found is just learning when to say, I need to trust my body and my mind, and it
Mm.
says it can't do this today.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
that's every day, that's something different, but usually those are, few and far between. But
Yeah, definitely. I think it's important to, you know, to have the baseline, as you said, like do the stuff you need that needs to be done, like for the 3 or 4
right.
hours, and then shift the other stuff to a day where you have higher energy, because it makes no sense to go through the process and it takes like double the time it would usually take. Like, that's not the level of productivity we are going for.
Right.
So
Right.
definitely. Yeah, and what do you think, like, how important do you think are habits in general or routines to get ahead, you know, to move the needle forward? What do
Yeah.
you think?
I think habits help you because it takes a lot of the mental load away from making those
Mm,
decisions. And so if you've got habits in place, your mind and body just kind of know to go there, and you're
mm,
not having to process stuff constantly. I mean, I don't know that this massively helps, but for instance, like I just have a bunch of monochromatic t-shirts and I have jeans that all match any of them. And every day I just grab the top two and I put them
yeah.
on and I don't care. Like they always match. And like, so I've just tried to take even little things like that out of my decision making process so that my brain can be focused on stuff that it's good at and can do and needs to do. And obviously that isn't a massive load. It's mostly because I'm lazy and I found t-shirts that are all the same color, but were like $5 a piece. So, but that same idea applied to
Yeah.
productivity, I think can be really helpful where you just, for me, every day, I end the day looking at my current list for the week that I've gathered from my task manager. And I actually physically write it down each week, even though I have it all digitally. The digital gathers it well. Mentally, writing it down makes me say, do I really want to do this or should I be doing this?
Mhm.
And then each day I close out the day planning the next day. And I plan the next 5 to 6 hours the next day. What am I going to accomplish in those 5 to 6 hours? And so for me, that is one of those habits that's super important because then when I wake up the next day, usually what happens is you sit down and say, okay, what do I need to do today? Well, like to me, I've lost the day at that point. I want to sit down and run, if you can sit and run at the same time. I want
Yeah.
to, I want to get stuff done right away. I don't want to sit and spend 30 minutes trying to wake up while I figure out what I'm supposed to be doing that day. And so for me, like that process of closing off the day also allows me to really stop at night. And especially being somebody who works from home, it can be really hard to have like an end to the day. And so for me, closing it off with like a post mortem for the day and planning the next day kind of seals
Mm.
that day and I'm done. And the next day I wake up, and as soon as my head gets off the pillow, I know what to do. I'm ready to go, and I can start early on it. So
Yeah.
I think those kinds of habits are really important because they take a lot of the decision making out of it. And even in the, closing the day out, it is a decision. However, it's a decision that I've kind of already pre-planned to make. And so it allows me to kind of fit in that zone really easy. My mind just kind of goes there. So I do think habits are really important because they allow you to spend your mental currency on things that your brain is good at instead of spending your mental currency on things that, are just randomized because you don't have enough pattern in your life
Yeah.
to kind of take those randomizations out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Gold to my ears. Yeah, we already talked offline some time, and yeah, like that are all like very similar strategies that I use,
Mm.
and yeah, I appreciate having other people are that crazy too in planning and having this strategies. No, it's awesome. So another question that might interest a lot of people: how do you set your goals, and do you track your goals? Because we are talking about tasks like week to week
Yeah.
and day to day, but how do you set your goals, milestones, and stuff? Like how you plan that
Yeah.
stuff.
I typically break out my goals more in the form of roles. And I find that that helps me be both higher level and it also allows me to be a little bit more flexible according to life. So I think about different roles I have. And sometimes that's a role in a company, sometimes it's a role like a father or a husband. And I typically sit down at the beginning of each year. I do it around my birthday, but my birthday is in December, so it's basically year to year.
Mm,
And I think through each of those roles and essentially try to ask what I aspire to be in those. What are my aspirations? And a lot of times that'll be more conceptual things, like I want to be a gentler dad, or something like that. So they're not necessarily like tasks, but they're the kinds of things that at the end of the year I want to look around and say, like, have I made movement here?
mm,
I've done really strict tracking every day on certain goals before throughout years. What I found is that I end up falling away in a couple different ways. Either I start just fudging the details because I want to get it right, or I fail and figure at that point it's done and I just give up. So I found that it's better for me to have these kind of overall themes in each of the roles I have in life. And then monthly, I try to sit down and ask how I'm going to do those practically. So I don't really come up with those ahead of time. It's like more month by month. Okay, what are some things I could do to take the dad role, for instance? If I want to be a gentler dad and interact with my kids more, then I might say, okay, this week I want to play with each of my kids for an hour individually.
mm.
So, that's a task, of course, at that point, but it's not something ahead of time I said, I want 96 hours with each kid this year or something like that I'm
Yeah, of
tracking. It's more
course.
like month by month.
Mm,
And then I typically try to take a quarterly planning day where I just, again, look at mostly at those roles and ask how I've either been accomplishing them through different tasks or if there's specific patterns, if there's, yeah, progress points I can make that would end up leading to that. So in that way, I tend to focus less on the result and I tend to focus more on the process.
mm,
So yearly asking, what are the general themes I want to be true in each of these roles? Monthly asking, okay, what are some processes I can put in place that would at least tend towards those goals being accomplished or those themes being accomplished. And then quarterly, I take a harder look at the roles in particular and say, like, okay, have I really been doing this? And if not, what are areas that are lacking? So I don't know if that's a little ethereal and a little fuzzy, but that seems to work well for me. And like I said, it gives me a focus more on the higher level and gives me more flexibility day by day instead of having like a list of 20 things I have to do by the end of every month. That ends up wearing me out and I end up just giving up. But maybe other people are more disciplined than me.
No, I think that's a good strategy. You gotta find the way that works best for you.
Yeah,
And I think that's you find that out in the process. And it took
that's
you
right.
some time, of course, you to
Yeah.
figure out all those strategies and stuff. But I think that's the exciting part too, to find out. And I'm also tweaking here and there, like
Right.
what is the best strategy, what is the best routine. But I also found out recently that I try to improve my system to be even more efficient. But in the
Yeah.
end, I ended up to being less efficient. So sometimes the previous system works and you be fine with that.
I've done that too.
Yeah, I think it's the drive to improve and the drive to be more productive and efficient. But I really like that idea with the themes
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
One
really nice strategy.
one thing that's helped me too is when I'm planning, I tend to kind of think of myself, and this isn't obviously none of this is unique to me. All these things are picked up from other people, but
Mm,
I heard once about thinking about yourself as both a manager and a maker. And that's really
yeah.
helped me that when I plan, I'm really thinking as a manager, okay, I know Chris the maker, he's going to get distracted or whatever. Like, how can I put things in place that will help him? And then
Hmm.
when I'm a maker, I don't try to plan stuff. And for me, that separation has been really helpful and allows me to kind of swap into like, okay, time to get stuff done mode versus time to think more conceptually and whatever. And when I mix the two, it doesn't go as well. So that kind of also led me to that whole idea of themes and um, kind of role-based thinking, and I think has helped me be a better manager and eventually a better maker as well when I get around to it.
Yeah, I like that idea too. Yeah, because you mentioned that you really want to like just go in the morning, like really
Yeah.
go like doing the tasks, and that's just it. Because I like to wake up, do my workout, and then I go to the stand-up desk and I just want to start to work, and I'll think about what am I gonna do, like prioritizing, and but that's I think the strategy most use. So
Hmm.
they don't take the time the evening before to plan the day ahead,
Yeah.
because I think it might be seen as extra work,
Yeah.
but it makes your life easier, I would say. People should
Yeah, I'm
try
not
on.
going to argue with you. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, like you have given us some very, very good insights. Thanks a lot for that. And I think we should, of course, have another call in a few months, maybe. Would be
See if
awesome.
I've crashed at that point, what I've learned, you know?
We will see. I don't think.
No, I really appreciate you
Oh,
having me on, and I hope it was a help to others. And yeah, it's a journey that you go through, and
yeah.
there are moments you feel much better and moments you feel behind the ball, and it goes back and forth, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's a process, peaks and valleys. That's just
That's
it.
it.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming, and I wish you a nice rest of the day. And yeah, see you soon, Chris.
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
Bye.